Hello, student. Today we are going to talk about service sector. This is still about type of the products. So we are still talking about the first P of marketing mix, which is product. So what is the service? Service is the intangible product. It usually involves a deed or act or performance. It's something that you cannot physically possess, like you go to concert, baseball game, and getting a haircut. So it's just the application of the effort or energy is directed at the people or object. The service product continuum. All products are services. In almost every exchange or every offering, there is some tangible product and then some level of services. So it's kind of continuum. A doctor service is incredibly service oriented, while your grocery store is very much more tangible, so more goods oriented. So you buy those goods and services and then take them home. And there are all things, just some between there, like kind of restaurants, food services. There's obviously something the tangible factors there, like that you eat or drink, but also there's some the service components and then ambience component and the environment component. So there are some the level of services and then almost every exchange that we have, even when we buy just online now, how quick we can get it, that's also the service factor. And then most offerings are somewhere in the middle, not all the services or not all products. These are the things that you need to think about. The service piece is part of the everything, and understanding services, being a goods and service provider, and then how we evaluate the services is an important part of marketing. So let's take a look at service growth. This is a part of our business that hasn't had the real GDP growth now for the 5 years or more. So that's the where we have seen the most growth in the last 50 and the 70 years, and then the service factors. So it means the service growing. We had the economic growth and we look for more services. Another reason is changing lifestyles. As our lifestyle change, we wanted more people just to perform their services. So, for example, rather cooking at home, more and more people order foods and go to restaurants. And changes in technology is another reason. We don't go and then buy videotape anymore and then we access on a Netflix. So we now have the also cell phones and then everybody has cell phone. And we pay for the internet and we pay for those connectivity to access those technology. So technology has been providing more and more services. So we buy our travel tickets and online and it necessarily go to the travel agent. So we buy more and more things in online. As we buy more things online, it becomes the more service oriented. We access more information online now as well. So there's no reason for the yellow pages even exist anymore, the hard copy book. So when we just need a phone number, we just like search in our phones. So how services are different from goods? First, tangibles. Tangibles are something that you can feel and touch. So you cannot feel or touch services, like for example, the flight services or a dictionary app on your phone. So the one thing, the intangible, you cannot touch it, which makes the benefit promise make it a little bit more tricky to work with. Next, inseparable. So services are often sold, produced, consumed at the same time. So consumers are involved in the productions of the services that they buy. So you cannot separate the services from you. I cannot tell you that go to the haircut for me. I cannot tell you go airline or stay hotel for me. So we are connected to the act of services. So we are somehow intrinsically engaged or involved in those times. So the production and consumption take place together, which is usual. And because services are performed by people, we see a lot of inconsistency or the heterogeneity. For example, the Coca-Cola and PepsiCo product, the quality is pretty much consistent every time because it's just processed from the manufacturing, so they have a lot of consistency. But the services in the restaurant, it depends on your mood and also it depends on the service provider. So there are a lot of more situational marketing cues when it comes to the buying services. Last one is the perishable, which means that it's time sensitive. So services cannot be stored, also warehoused, or the inventoried. So one of the most important challenge in the many service industry is the finding way to synchronize supply and demand. So how do we reevaluate service quality? These are the basic dimensions. The first thing we look at is the organization reliable? Do we think they're gonna do what they say and then what they're going to do? And then how do you take the tangible look? If you are someone who sells the services, you cannot always make sure that everyone to just smile and says, hey, you should find everything every time. Because sometimes it's hard to control those things. So you obviously train people and then reward them and then hope them they just really do their best. But then you can manage your tangibles. You can make sure that your place is clean. You can make sure that your logo looks right. Manage the tangibles when you go into the hotel. Usually the lobby looks fabulous. Even if every room is perfect as managing the tangibles and then things that people see. So you can take a look at the accommodation, facilities, equipment, all those things that send some messages. Because we really take in the most of our input, most of our sensory input comes into the what we visualize. So just make sure your tangible cues are good. Another thing is that we can take a look at this organization is responsive. We have something to say and then just watch whether they respond in a timely fashion. So we just like send some emails to the customer service and then sitting here and then waiting for the immediate response. Then there's another area which is assurance. So do we can competent and then comfortable about these people? So we think that their people are knowledgeable. So I mean that these days the Best Buy have some of the peoples in the blue shirt, gig squads, and then one of the big points of difference that Best Buy has against that you buy electronics and online. So those guys can help you out with their expertise as regarding some of the electronic products. Last but not least, we expect the services providers to be empathetic. We expect them to understand, to listen to give us some the illusion that they care. So we're looking for the empathy in our service situation. We have a complaint or the scenario. We may want to explain why we need a product or service and we want to the folks to listen. So we expect some empathy. This is the video that I want you to look at. So this reveals the secret of why supermarket lines are intentionally getting longer. Based on the service factors we just learned about and then how we can evaluate the service quality, you can understand why these days you can see the longer lines of the groceries and airlines and theaters, so you will find the answer. So now let's talk about for services. What can be the different strategies you have? We will talk about each 4Ps. So first, your product strategies for services. So you need to figure out what type of business you are in, what processing. Are you processing people? Are you processing their possessions? Are you just cutting their hair? Are you just providing some of the law services? Are you providing the mental stimulus with the information or like sports or entertainment? So understand what's core and what's supplementary. If I want to go a baseball game, the primary service is that the ticket to the entertainment venue that I go to. Then they have some of the supplementary services. They sell popcorns, hot dogs, and might also sell some of the t-shirts and then sell some beverages. So they have to figure out what is the core and then what is the supplementary. Then they may decide that they are gonna have all different levels and tiers. So in some places, there may be free food and then you get to see players and then you walk out in the field. So think about what is the core and then what is the supplementary. And that's the examples of the baseball game. The next one is the customization and standardization. How much I'm going to customize to the services. We just like to be customized stuff that seems just for us. Obviously, your haircuts can be customized, but you have to figure out how much customization I can provide in this interaction to these folks. Other things you should Other things you should look at is what is the service mix relationships. So how much I look at these products, what's core and what's the supplementary, and then how do I mix them, and then how do I price them together. So how I can put this price strategy together. Pricing strategy. How do I pricing in this area? Oftentimes, the first thing that you should do is decide the unit of consumption. For example, you pay the tuition at the time, and then you should figure out the unit of services, whether it's an hourly buy or the semester. Another thing that you should look at is the price difference during demand. Another thing that you should look at is the price difference during demand. Another thing you should look at is the price difference during low demand. That's the one of things that we are pretty much accepted with services. Around the Thanksgiving time, airline tickets are really expensive. In the middle of January, not so much. So we can change that price and then fluctuate price based on their perishability of service, which helps us manage some overall profitability. Normally, in this particular area, we see a lot of yield management system with the algorithm study and the development. Because the service have the perishability, so we kind of given them to permission to go ahead and then to do this. So we enjoy it when we get some lower price during those lower demand times. So these are the videos that how those kind of price comparison website work, such as Skyscanner, Hotels.com, Priceline. Later part is more technical, so I just want you to watch kind of first 2 or 3 minutes. And it's pretty interesting. And oftentimes the service really bundle things. We take a look at the primary service into complementary ones. So we want to make sure that we get enough access to the complementary ones. So we give them for free. So there are a lot of hotels who do the free breakfast now. So it's almost the standard of the quite few places. And oftentimes in electronics or in a home connectivity access, we will see the keyboard and the Wi-Fi connected with our direct TV and then also with your cell phone line. All of those people can try to do those things together. So similar in the insurance business as well. The last but not the least of 4P, promotion. How I am going to promote. So one thing that you want to stress is those tangible cues, things that people can think and see. So just make sure that the things that you show people, because everything else is intangible. Utilize the testimonials when things are intangible. Make it believable. It's very believable to say, we have other people say that we have the best services and the reviews are out there. So the testimonials and reviews are really important, but something that's less tangible, like services. So people feel much more comfortable if they have some of the reviews in their hotel, if they can learn about how the hotel performs. So also make sure that you've got the strong organizational images. So we see in the service sector, people create the characters. In the insurance business, they have some of the lizard in the Geico, and a duck for Affleck. So you can create the characters that deal with intangibility. They're trying to have some of the type of the strong organizational image. So you want to have some of the tangible cues. And then most importantly, if you're selling services, talk to people after the service. So service can be inconsistent, so you need to constantly review and monitor how your service quality goes. So you have to constantly post the experience survey to make sure that you don't have a knowledge gap. And then also you can check whether people's desires change. So just have the post-purchase communication with your customers and then just check whether you do your job or whether you did not your job and how you can continue to be a great service provider. And then what you might need to do enhance the customer experience is just going forward. That's the services. Thank you.